The night everything snapped, my mom texted me 12 times in a row because I didn't answer one call. I wasn't lost. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't lying in a ditch or being kidnapped in some dark parking lot. I was 28 years old, sitting in a half-empty bar 2 blocks from my office, sipping a watered-down margarita, listening to my coworkers complain about our manager's obsession with spreadsheets. There was music, soft 80 seconds rock, the kind that makes people over 40 sway and people under 30 roll their eyes. Colored lights slid across the shelves of liquor bottles. Someone laughed too loudly in the corner. My phone buzzed on the table. "Mom, where are you? You said you'd be home around 9. It's 9:07. I glanced at the screen and felt my shoulders stiffen. "Everything okay?" Jenna asked from across the table. She had a lime wedge between her fingers and that half-amused, half-concerned expression she got whenever my mom came up. Yeah, I lied. Just my mom. You know, classic overprotective mom behavior. Buzz. Buzz. Are you drinking? Mom, please don't drive if you're drinking. Actually, just come home. This isn't safe. My jaw tightened. In my head, I could already hear her voice. Fast, high, anxious, filled with the kind of fear that wasn't really about tonight and not really about me. A mother-daughter relationship can hold a lot of history inside a single ringtone. She's still doing that thing? Jenna asked. The rapid-fire text thing? Apparently, I took another sip of my drink. Welcome to my personal American family drama story. 3 more messages appeared before I could even put my glass down. Why aren't you answering me? Emily, this isn't funny. Call me right now. It was like she was standing in the bar with us, hands on hips, judging the music, the drinks, the people, and especially me. I flipped the phone face down. For maybe 40 seconds, I managed to focus on the conversation. The team was talking about the new intern, about holiday vacation days, about who was secretly dating who. Normal office gossip. Normal 20-something life. Then my phone started ringing. Mom, the screen flashed. My stomach clenched. I let it ring. It stopped. 2 seconds later, it started again. Same name. Same ringtone that used to make me feel safe when I was a kid, and now felt like an alarm. Do you need to get that? Jenna asked. No, I said. I really don't. On the 3rd call, I sighed, picked the phone up, and hit decline. My thumb hovered over the screen for a moment. The urge to call back was muscle memory. Yes. Mom. Of course, Mom. Anything to avoid the storm at home. Instead, I opened our text thread and typed, fingers hard on the glass. I'm fine. Out with coworkers. I'll talk later. 3 dots appeared instantly. She was there with the phone in her hand, waiting. Later when? Are there men there? Send me your location. I want to see where you are. I felt something flash hot inside my chest. Okay, I muttered. Nope. I locked the screen. She's treating you like you're 15, Jenna said gently. You know that, right? I laughed without humor. She's been doing that for 13 years. Have you told her to stop? I hesitated. Not like that. The phone rang again. I turned it off. Power completely down. For the first time in maybe my entire life, I chose silence over my mother's voice. The bar suddenly felt bigger without her anxiety rattling in my pocket. This margarita, Jenna said, trying to lighten the mood, is terrible. I laughed, and for a few minutes I forgot about the messages. I let myself just be Emily, office girl, bad drink critic, friend not Emily, who belongs to Mom. By the time I turned my phone back on, standing outside my apartment under the dim streetlight, the night had cooled, crickets chirped, a car door slammed down the block. Notifications exploded across the screen like fireworks. 26 text messages. 7 missed calls from Mom. 1 voicemail from our neighbor. 1 from my aunt. Your mom is worried sick, honey. Please call her. Aunt Laura. Call your mother. She thinks something awful happened. My heart sank. I knew what awaited me inside. Panic, anger, guilt. Our apartment, it was technically hers, but I paid half the rent, had the blinds open. The living room light was on. The porch light too. Both beacons of worry. I unlocked the door. Mom was pacing the living room with her phone in her hand, hair clipped up haphazardly, robe half-tied. The TV was on mute. Some late-night talk show host frozen mid-joke. The second she saw me, her face shifted from terror to fury. "Where have you been?" she screamed, voice cracking. "I almost called the police, Emily." I stopped, just inside the door, keys dangling from my fingers. "I texted you," I said. "I told you I was out with coworkers." "You turned off your phone," she shot back, like I had done something criminal, like I had turned off her oxygen. "Because you wouldn't stop calling me," I snapped. "Because you didn't answer," she shouted. "What was I supposed to do? Assume my daughter is okay when she disappears for hours and ignores her mother? A good daughter doesn't do that. A good daughter respects the rules of the house. This is my house, Emily. My house, my rules." End quote. That phrase. I had heard it my whole life. My house, my rules. It had teeth. I felt something inside me crack, cleanly, like a dry twig. "I'm not 15, I said quietly. My voice surprised me how steady it sounded. "I'm 28. She rolled her eyes. "Oh, so now you're grown? Now you're so mature you think you can stay out late and drink and ignore me?" "Stop it," I said. "Just stop. Stop treating me like I'm still 15. Silence dropped into the room between us. Her mouth snapped shut. The TV buzzed softly in the background. A car passed outside. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. Maybe, in a way, I had. "Excuse me?" she whispered, voice suddenly low. "Dangerous." "I'm not a child," I continued, feeling a strange mixture of terror and relief. "I have a job. I pay bills. I pay half this rent. I'm allowed to go out after work. I'm allowed to drink 1 bad margarita and not send you my live location like you're my probation officer." Her face flushed. "Probation officer? That's how it feels." I took a step forward. "You track me like a criminal. You blow up my phone. You walk into my room without knocking. You ask who I'm with, what I'm wearing, when I'll be home. You treat me like I'm still 15, Mom, like I'm stupid, like I can't make any decision without your approval." "I'm your mother," she hissed. "It is my job to keep you safe. You have no idea what could happen to you out there. There are drunk drivers and men who only want one thing, and drugs and—" "There have always been drunk drivers and men and drugs," I cut in. "They existed when I was 15, too. The only difference now is that I am an adult and I am tired of living like a prisoner in my own life." Her eyes glistened. She scoffed, a bitter sound. "Prisoner? Wow, you're really dramatic." "I'm serious." "So am I," she snapped. "If you don't like my rules, there's the door." She pointed at it. The same gesture she had thrown out a dozen times when I was a teenager, always as a threat, never meant to be taken literally. Something in me called her bluff. "Maybe I should use it," I said, voice barely louder than a whisper. Her hand dropped. For a split second, I saw fear in her eyes. Real, raw fear. Then it hardened into anger again. "Go ahead," she said. "Leave. Just like your father. Walk right out that door if you're so grown, Emily. If your mother is such a monster, then go be an adult somewhere else." The words hit me like cold water. Just like your father. There he was, always hovering in the background of our American family drama story. The man who had walked out and never really looked back. I swallowed. "I'm not Dad," I said. "I'm not leaving to hurt you. I'm leaving because I can't breathe here." She looked away. Whatever. We both knew this was different. That this time, this fight, this "if you don't like it, leave," had found solid ground to land on. I walked past her into my room. My hands were shaking as I pulled a duffel bag from the closet. Jeans. A few shirts. Underwear. My toothbrush. Laptop charger. It was ridiculous how little you actually needed to leave your life behind. I could feel her in the doorway, watching me pack. She didn't say stop. She didn't say stay. She just stood there, arms crossed so tightly her knuckles were white. "You're really doing this," she said finally, voice small. "Yes," I said. "Fine," she whispered. "Run away. When something bad happens, don't call me." We both knew that was a lie. I would always call her. She would always pick up. Our entire relationship was built on that reflex. Except tonight, I wasn't sure. I slung the bag over my shoulder and walked past her, out into the living room, past the couch where she'd waited up for me on 100 teenage nights. I grabbed my keys. At the door, I paused. "I love you," I said. She didn't answer. When the door closed behind me, the air outside felt cold and sharp and horrifyingly free. People on the internet like to talk about going no contact with toxic parents, like it's a clean break, flip a switch, block a number, cue the emotional healing, story music. It's not like that. It feels like ripping out your own heart and hoping it grows back in a better shape. On the sidewalk, under the orange streetlight, I opened my phone, found Mom's contact, and pressed block. Then I texted Jenna, "Can I crash on your couch?" It was the first night of a new life. A story that would be told later as a narrated audio story about boundaries and healing. Right then, it just felt like walking away from the only home I'd ever known. Chapter 2. Growing up on a short leash. If you want to understand why the word "where are you" hits my nervous system like an alarm, you have to understand how I grew up. My childhood looked normal from the outside. Small house, small yard, small community. A very standard American suburban backdrop for a very specific kind of family drama. When I was 9, my dad left. It wasn't even cinematic. No dramatic suitcase throwing, no police, no broken plates. Just a quiet, gradual retreat. First, late nights at work. Then business trips. Then one day, "I'm moving to Nashville," he said at the kitchen table, hands folded neatly like he was giving a presentation. "There's a job there. It's a great opportunity." "For us?" Mom asked, confused. "For me," he said. I remember sitting there, legs swinging, counting the crumbs on the table, thinking this was just another adult conversation that didn't really have much to do with me. It had everything to do with me. 1 month later, his stuff was gone. 2 months after that, there was a picture on social media. Dad with another woman, smiling in front of a new house, with a shiny new stepdaughter perched on his shoulders like I used to be. Mom saw it on a neighbor's computer. She didn't cry in front of me. Not then. But something inside her cracked and reformed around a new belief. The people you love can leave at any time. So she wrapped herself around what she had left. Me. She held tight. Too tight. At 10, I wasn't allowed to walk the 3 blocks home from school alone. At 12, sleepovers were too risky. At 13, while my classmates got Instagram accounts, I was still on shared family email. At 14, I had a flip phone but no internet and a call every hour when I was out. My friends joked, "Your mom's like an overprotective Netflix mom character." I laughed with them, but secretly I believed what she told me every night. "I'm strict because I love you. I'm your safe place. The world isn't." She kept the TV locked to news channels whenever she had time to watch anything. Every story seemed to prove her right. Missing teenagers, drunk driving accidents, girls assaulted after parties. "See?" she'd say, pointing. "That's why I need to know where you are." By the time I was 15, the age she seemed stuck on forever, her rules were legendary. Curfew at 10 p.m. Location shared at all times. Phone must be answered within 10 minutes, or she'd call every contact she had. Homework checked. Clothes checked. Friends checked. If I pushed back, the house would fill with her fear. "Do you want to end up on the news?" she'd snap. "Do you want to get kidnapped? Do you want to get pregnant at 16 and throw your life away?" She never yelled about my grades or my future. She yelled about danger, like it was a living thing waiting just outside. Looking back, I can see it as trauma. Back then, it just felt like my life. When I was 16, my phone died at a birthday party. The next day, I woke up to 16 missed calls on the house phone. 3 from my aunt, 2 from my neighbor, and 1 from the mom hosting the party. "Your mother is very worried," the host had said, tight-mouthed, as Mom stood behind me, furious and shaking. I remember Mom's hands, white-knuckled on the steering wheel as we drove home. Her eyes were swollen from crying. "I thought you were dead," she said. "Do you understand that? I thought you were dead in some alley. I was about to call the hospitals. How could you do that to me?" "What?" I had whispered. "Let my phone die? Let me suffer like that," she replied. "I can't lose you too, Emily. I won't survive it." So I apologized. I apologized for her fear, for her assumptions, for the nightmare scenarios she had built in her head. I promised to carry a charger. I promised to be careful. I promised to be safe. What I didn't realize was that I was also promising something else. That I would manage her anxiety for the rest of my life. When college admissions rolled around, my acceptance letter felt like a golden ticket. A university 3 hours away, decent ranking, creative writing program. It felt like escape. Mom read the letter with trembling hands. For a second, I thought she might be proud. Then she said, "Why would you go so far away?" 3 hours isn't that far, I said. "I can drive home on weekends." "We have a community college here," she pointed out. "You can live at home. Save money. It's safer." That word again. Safer. She never asked if I wanted to stay. We had our first big fight that day. She accused me of abandoning her. I accused her of chaining me to the house. In the end, I chose the college 3 hours away. For the first semester, I still answered her calls multiple times a day. I texted photos of my dorm, of the library, of my lunch, like a teenager on a field trip. But college life has gravity. There were late-night study sessions, trips to the campus diner, movie marathons in common rooms. Each call I ignored or forgot to return got me closer to something I'd never experienced before. The feeling of being on my own. Mom didn't like that. If I called an hour later than usual, she made comments like, "Oh, you remembered you have a mother," or "I guess you're too busy for me now." When I came home for holidays, it was like stepping back in time. Curfew, questions, suspicion about any friend she didn't already know. I tried gently talking about boundaries. I tried using the language my college friends used. "I need space. I need you to trust me. This doesn't feel healthy, Mom." She always had a counter-argument. "I do trust you. I don't trust everyone else. I'm not controlling, I'm caring. You'll understand when you're a mother." Part of her was right. She wasn't a monster. She was a human being who had been abandoned and terrified and overworked, who had turned her only child into her anchor. But love that grips from fear can start to feel like a cage. By the time I moved into the shared apartment 20 minutes from her house, I thought I'd built enough independence to be okay. Instead, it put her control right on top of my adult life. Spare key for emergencies. Drop-in visits with grocery bags. Let me know when you're home texts every night. The leash was longer, but it was still a leash. The night everything snapped. All those years of leashes and curfews and location checks condensed into one sentence. "Stop treating me like I'm still 15. I meant every word. I had no idea how much it would cost me to say them out loud. Chapter 3. The First Cut and the Silence After. Jenna's couch was lumpy and squeaked when I moved, but that first night away, it felt like a luxury hotel. I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of her fridge and the occasional faint siren outside the window. Her apartment had a tiny view of the street, with a blinking pharmacy sign. It felt more alive than my childhood neighborhood ever had. And yet, my chest hurt. I'd blocked my mom's number before I got in the Uber. My thumb had hovered over the red button for a full minute. My heart had pounded so loudly I was sure the neighbors could hear it. Block. Confirm. Silence. "This is big," Jenna had said softly as she handed me a spare blanket. "You sure you're okay?" "No," I admitted, "but I'm sure I can't keep living like that." It's strange, the things you notice when the noise stops. In the first 24 hours without my mom's messages, my brain filled the silence with phantom vibrations. I could swear my phone was buzzing even when it was on the table. Screen dark. I kept picking it up. Nothing. No texts. No missed calls. It was like quitting an addiction cold turkey. The second day, guilt kicked in. I kept picturing her alone in the house, pacing, crying, staring at her phone. My mind replayed all the times she'd told me, "I can't lose you, and you're all I have." Jenna caught me staring at the wall that evening. "Say it out loud," she said. "What's running through your head?" "What if she's right?" I blurted. "What if I am a horrible daughter? What if something happens to her and I find out too late because I blocked her?" "What if something happens to you because you don't draw a line?" Jenna countered gently. "What if you spend the next 20 years feeling like a child in your own life?" That night, to quiet my spiraling brain, I opened a podcast app and typed, "Controlling Mother Adult Daughter Story." I found dozens of results: narrated family drama stories, emotional healing audio about toxic parents, mother-daughter relationship breakdowns and rebuilds. Women talked about mom guilt, mom rage, guilt tripping, silent treatment, overprotective mothers who never learned boundaries. Some of the stories ended in permanent estrangement. Some ended in reconciliation. Most sounded like my life, with different names and zip codes. One narrator said something that stuck with me. "When I stopped answering my mom's calls instantly, I felt like I'd committed a crime. But the real crime was that I thought my time and peace belonged to her. I rewound that line 3 times. In those days on the couch, with my duffel bag half unpacked and my toothbrush in someone else's bathroom, I started seeing my story as more than just, my mom is dramatic. It was a pattern. Control, fear, guilt, apologies, reconciliation, repeat. The first cut I made blocking her number was an attempt to break the loop. Back at the house, Mom was spinning in her own loop, one I wouldn't understand until later. Our American family drama had split into 2 separate monologues, each of us, the main character, each of us convinced we were the one bleeding more. What I knew on my side was this. For the first time, no one knew exactly where I was. And the world didn't end. I woke up. I went to work. I bought myself coffee without texting anyone the price. The sky didn't fall. I didn't get kidnapped. I didn't die in a ditch. Instead, I started to breathe. It was shallow at first, like someone learning to swim without water wings. Every time my phone stayed silent, my brain screamed, "This is wrong. Call her. Fix it." But a small, stubborn part of me whispered back, "What if this is what right feels like?" Unfamiliar, but right. On the 5th day, Jenna sat cross-legged at the foot of the couch. "I love you," she said, "but my couch is tiny and my boyfriend is starting to feel like a guest in his own home. It's probably time to look for a place." "I know," I sighed. "I can't go back home." "Then don't," she said simply. "Find your own place, your own story. You're allowed to do that. You're an adult daughter now, not a live-in child." That phrase, adult daughter, felt new. I liked it. So I opened my laptop and, between work tasks, searched for small studios and roommate ads. I scheduled viewings. I did normal, boring, grown-up things, all while a part of me mourned the loss of the woman who had packed my lunches and braided my hair. I didn't know if I wanted her back in my life. I only knew I didn't want her back in my phone, running my nervous system like a switchboard. And then, one afternoon, a notification appeared in my inbox at work. Not a text, not a call, an email. From Mom. Subject: "If you are willing to read this." My heart thudded. She had found a way past the block. Of course she had. She knew my email from college applications, from job forms. A controlling mom is also a resourceful mom. For a long moment, I just stared at the subject line. If this were a narrated story on a YouTube audio channel, this would be the moment where the music softens, and the narrator says something like, "This email would change everything." But in real life, I just felt sick. I clicked it anyway. Chapter 4. A Mother Alone with Her Thoughts. Mom. Point of view. When your only child blocks your number, you learn just how loud silence can be. The first day, I was furious. I stomped around the house, slamming cabinet doors, muttering things like, "After everything I've done for her," and "ungrateful, just like her father." The second day, the anger cracked, and underneath it was something worse. Terror. Terror that I'd driven her away. Terror that she'd never come back. Terror that the worst fear of my life, being left alone again, had finally happened. And this time, it was my fault. I kept grabbing my phone out of habit, to text, to call, to check her location. The map app showed nothing. Her dot had disappeared. I called her once, just once, because the call went straight to voicemail, and the automated voice said, "The number you have dialed is not able to receive calls." I knew what that meant. She hadn't just turned off her phone. She had removed me. I sat at the kitchen table, the same one where her father had told me he was leaving 18 years ago, and laughed once, sharply. It sounded like a sob shoved sideways. "Congratulations," I told myself. "You did it. You smothered her right out the door." That night, I turned on the TV for background noise and ended up falling down a rabbit hole of late-night YouTube. Somehow, the algorithm decided to show me a video titled, "When a Controlling Mom Loses Her Adult Daughter, a Healing Story." I almost threw the remote, but something, a mix of curiosity and self-hatred, maybe made me click. A woman in her 40s talked about her own mother, the constant calls, the surprise visits, the guilt trips, the way she never felt like an adult. She described the day she finally snapped, the months of no contact, the therapy, the boundaries. Every sentence felt like a spotlight aimed directly at my face. The comments were even worse. I went no contact with my toxic mom and it saved my life. If your mother keeps crossing boundaries, you owe her nothing. Parents do not automatically deserve access to adult children. I shut the laptop. "I'm not toxic," I told the empty room. "I'm not. I'm just worried. I'm a caring mom, a protective mom. The world is dangerous. I'm trying to keep her safe." My words bounced off the walls, thin and defensive. The next day, I typed into Google, "How to stop being a controlling mom to adult daughter." The results were not kind. There were articles about enmeshment, helicopter parenting, toxic control, mothers who made their daughters responsible for their emotions. There were checklists. I read them like I was grading myself. Do you call your adult child multiple times a day to relieve your own anxiety? Do you expect them to answer immediately? Do you use guilt to influence their decisions? Do you show up unannounced at their home? Yes. 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 My stomach churned. Another search. Empty nest anxiety, mother therapy. Another. Adult children boundaries with parents. It felt like I had broken into some secret library, where everyone was talking about me behind my back. One article said, "When a parent has unresolved trauma, they may try to control their adult child to avoid feeling abandoned again." Unresolved trauma, abandoned. Words that sounded like diagnoses. I closed my eyes and saw my husband's back as he walked down the driveway that last day. I saw baby Emily asleep in her crib, the only thing anchoring me to sanity. "I can't lose her," I whispered, pressing my palms to my eyes. But maybe I already had. I called my sister Laura. "She blocked me," I said, skipping hello. "My own daughter blocked me." On the other end, I heard a long sigh. "Okay," Laura said gently. "Take a breath. Have you eaten today?" "Laura," I snapped. "This is not about food. My child has cut me off. How do I fix this?" "You start," she said slowly, "by not trying to fix it like you fix a leaky faucet. You can't control your way out of this, sis. She needs space." "I gave her space," I protested. "You gave her 20 minutes, she said. Then you texted every 3 minutes. That's not space. That's surveillance." I bristled. I was worried. "I know," she said. "You've been worried for 28 years. What am I supposed to do? Not worry?" "No," she said softly. "You're supposed to learn how to handle your worry without making it her job." "How?" I whispered. "Therapy," she replied. "Real therapy. Not self-help videos. Go talk to someone who isn't your daughter. She's your kid, not your counselor." The idea of therapy made me want to roll my eyes like my daughter. Therapy was for rich people in movies and influencers in those emotional healing story podcasts. Real people had wine and group chats. But I'd tried wine and group chats. I'd tried control and guilt and lectures. My daughter was sleeping on some friend's couch instead of in her own bed. So I opened a new tab and typed, "Therapist near me, anxiety, family boundaries." 2 weeks later, I found myself sitting on a gray couch in a small office that smelled like lemon tea and old books. The therapist, Dr. Patel, had kind eyes and a legal pad. She listened as I unleashed a 28-year emotional audio story at double speed. My husband leaving, raising a daughter alone, the news stories, the fear, the bar, the blocked number. "I'm just trying to keep her safe," I finished, dabbing my eyes with a tissue. "Is that so wrong? Isn't that what a good mother does? I'm a good mom. I'm not abusive. I don't hit her. I don't call her names. I just need to know she's okay." Dr. Patel nodded slowly. "May I reflect something back to you?" she asked. I braced myself. "Sure." "You are clearly a loving mother," she said, "and a scared one. Those two things can exist together, but when your fear runs the show, it can feel like control to the person on the other side." "I'm not controlling," I insisted automatically. She tilted her head. "You said you texted her over 20 times that night." I thought she was dead. "You said you often show up at her apartment without warning." "It's my key, my daughter. You call multiple times until she picks up. She shouldn't ignore her mother." Dr. Patel didn't argue. She just looked at me. In that silence, I heard my own words like an audio recording played back. They sounded desperate. They sounded not loving. Not to someone who wasn't inside my head. "What if," Dr. Patel said gently, "you considered that your love has been filtering through the lens of your trauma? When your husband left, your nervous system learned that if you don't hold on tightly, people disappear. So you hold on tightly to your daughter, so tightly she can't breathe." I swallowed hard. "I just want to feel safe." "And you've made that her job," she said. "Her instant responses, her location, her compliance, that's your safety plan. But it's not her job to regulate your anxiety. It's yours." I hated hearing that. I also felt something unclench in my chest. "What do I do?" I whispered. "You learn to sit with your fear," she said. "You soothe your own nervous system. You build a life that isn't only your daughter. You apologize to her without justifying your behavior. And you learn a new way to be a mother to an adult daughter with boundaries." There was that word again. Boundaries. It felt like a threat, like a wall. She framed it differently. "Boundaries," she said, "are not rejection. They are instructions. Without them, love can feel like intrusion." I thought of all the times Emily had said, "I need space," and I'd heard, "You don't love me." Maybe she'd been trying to give me instructions the whole time, and I'd been too scared to read them. At home, the house was still quiet. Her room still smelled faintly like her shampoo. I sat on her bed and picked up a sweater she'd left behind, pressing it to my face. "I don't know how to be a mom to who you are now," I whispered into the fabric. That night, I wrote the email. It wasn't poetic. It wasn't some perfect, scripted, emotional healing monologue. It was clumsy and full of pauses and backspaces. I deleted the first 3 drafts because they started with variations of, "I'm sorry you're overreacting." I tried again. This time, I started with the truth. Chapter 5. Learning the Language of Boundaries. Emily. Point of view. I read Mom's email 3 times before my brain fully believed it was real. It wasn't long, by her standards. My mom could write a novel in a text if she wanted. It was simple, careful, full of phrases that sounded like new vocabulary words. She mentioned a therapist. She mentioned anxiety. She mentioned boundaries. Some part of me wanted to scream, "Too late." Another part wanted to sprint back home and throw myself into her arms, pretend the last month never happened. Instead, I took the email to my therapist. "Yes, I printed it," I said when she raised an eyebrow at the piece of paper. "I'm a millennial who prints emails now. Apparently that's who I am." We read it line by line. There were real apologies in there, not, "I'm sorry you're upset, but I'm sorry I did X and it hurt you." She didn't blame me. She didn't bring up my father. She wrote, "I treated you like a child because I was terrified of losing you the way I lost him." "That's honest," my therapist said. "I almost don't trust it," I admitted. "That makes sense," she replied. "Trust isn't rebuilt by one email. It's rebuilt by consistent behavior." She's inviting you to a new kind of relationship. You don't have to say yes yet, or at all. "What do I do?" I asked. "You ask yourself what you need to feel safe," she said. "And then you tell her, clearly, without apologizing for having needs." I snorted. "That sounds like a lot." "It is," she agreed, "but you can do it." So I wrote back. My email wasn't elegant. It read more like a list than a letter, but it was honest. I told her I was still hurt. I told her I wasn't ready to move back. I told her if we started talking again, I needed rules. I used the word boundaries and braced myself for her to call me selfish or dramatic. I listed them. No surprise visits. No call bombing. One call, one message, then wait. No interrogations about who I'm with or where I am, unless I choose to share. No good daughter guilt trips. I felt scared hitting send. I felt like I was handing her a user manual to my heart and saying, "Please don't throw this away." She wrote back the next day. Her response was short. "My therapist says boundaries are instructions on how to love someone in a way that doesn't hurt them. Thank you for giving me instructions. I agree to all four. I will probably slip up sometimes, but I am willing to learn. Would you be willing to have coffee with me in a public place? Neutral territory, as Dr. Patel says. I will follow your lead. Love, Mom." Neutral territory. We picked a coffee shop halfway between her house and my new studio. Saturday at 10. Daylight, people, neutral. I got there early and chose a seat by the window, where I could see her coming from down the block. My hands shook around my paper cup. My heart hammered. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. Same body, same face, same hair, just a little more gray at the roots. But something in her posture had changed. Her shoulders were softer. Her eyes weren't scanning the room for danger. They were searching for me. She spotted me and stopped a few feet away from the table. "Hi," she said, voice quiet. "Hi," I said back. She gripped the back of the chair. "Can I sit?" Did she really just ask permission to sit at my table? It hit me that she was trying, really trying. "Yes," I said quickly. "Please." We ordered coffee. For a few minutes, we made small talk about my job, my aunt, the weather. It felt like talking to a stranger I knew too well. Finally, she took a deep breath. "I've been learning things," she said, "about myself, about mothers who are too controlling, toxic patterns, all that." "Toxic is a strong word," I said, half testing her. She winced. "I don't like the word, but if it fits, then it fits. I don't want it to fit forever." She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. My stomach flipped, thinking it might be some list of my wrongdoings. "This," she said, unfolding it, is something Dr. Patel made me write. It's not for you, exactly. It's for me, but I want to read it out loud. Okay, I said cautiously. She read. I am afraid that if I don't know where Emily is, something terrible will happen, and it will be my fault for not stopping it. I am afraid that if Emily has a full, happy adult life, she won't need me, and I will be alone. I am afraid of being left again. Her voice shook on the last line. You're not responsible for my fears, she said, folding the paper again. I made you responsible, because it felt easier than dealing with them myself. And I am sorry. That was wrong. I stared at her. My mom, apologizing without defending herself, owning her behavior, using words like responsible and wrong and afraid. Do you remember, I asked slowly, when I was 16 and my phone died at that party, and you had my aunt come sit at the house like I'd been kidnapped? She winced. Yes. I felt so ashamed, I said, like I'd done something awful, but I hadn't. I just forgot my charger. It took me years to realize I wasn't apologizing for misbehaving. I was apologizing for your anxiety. She nodded. I'm sorry. I know you're sorry, I said, but it still happened. I know, she replied. It doesn't go away. We just carry it differently. I took a breath. When you blew up my phone the other night and demanded my location, I felt like I was 16 again, not 28. I need you to understand that. I need you to see me as an adult. I'm trying, she said. In my head, you're still 15. That's the last age when I felt like I knew what I was doing with you. After that, everything felt like guesswork. I think I froze you there in my mind because it felt safer. If you're 15, you still need me. If you're 28, she trailed off. I can still need you, I said quietly. Just not as a warden. As a mom. She smiled, watery. I can try to be that kind of mom. We talked about concrete things. What do I do if I'm really worried? She asked. If I haven't heard from you and my mind goes to all the car accidents and serial killers on those crime shows? Call once, I said. Text once. Then do something to calm yourself. Call Aunt Laura, go for a walk, scream into a pillow, but don't make it my job. She nodded slowly. Okay, and if I mess up? Then you apologize, I said, and try again. It sounded almost too simple. In practice, we would later learn, it was not simple at all. It was a daily choice, a skill to practice. By the time our cups were empty, my shoulders had dropped a little. The tight band around my chest had loosened. We walked out together into the weak midday sun. I'm not ready to come back home, I said as we reached the corner. I know, she said. I'm not asking you to. That alone was a miracle. What if, she added, home becomes wherever we respect each other, not just a house? That sounds like something your therapist said, I teased. She laughed. It does, doesn't it? I like it, I said. We hugged, awkward and gentle, and then went our separate ways. On the bus ride back to my studio, I opened a notes app and typed, Mom, stop treating me like I'm still 15. A story about a controlling mother, an adult daughter, and the boundaries that saved them. It looked like the title of an audio story episode, a bedtime story time for grown-ups, an emotional healing story on some channel like Dreamscapes Stories USA. Except this one was mine. And it wasn't finished yet. Chapter 6. We're both still learning. Healing is not a straight line. It's more like a spiral. You keep bumping into the same issues, but at slightly different angles each time. In the months after that first coffee shop truce, Our American family drama story became something softer, messier, more hopeful. We made rules. We agreed to schedule our calls instead of chasing each other's ringtones. Wednesday evenings and Sunday afternoons became our standard catch-up times. "Can we keep some spontaneity?" she asked once, half joking. "I don't want to book my own daughter like a dental appointment." "You can text me any time," I said. "Just don't expect an instant answer, and don't take a late reply as rejection." "Deal," she said. She slipped up. One Friday night, I went to a concert and my phone died. When I charged it in the Uber home, there were 4 missed calls and 3 messages. "Just checking in. You didn't pick up. I'm trying not to panic." "Okay, I am panicking a little. Please just text 'I'm safe.'" My first instinct was anger. My heart rate shot up. The old narrative started. Here we go again. She'll never change. She says the right words but does the same thing. Then I paused. 4 calls in 5 hours was not the same as 14 in 10 minutes. 3 messages, one of which explicitly named her panic, was not the same as "call me right now," in all caps. Progress, not perfection. I texted, "I'm safe. Phone died. At home now." That was more calls than our boundary allows. "I'm not mad, but I need you to notice it too." There was a pause. Then, "Mom, you're right. I noticed it after the second call and still did it anyway. I'm sorry." Anxiety got loud. "I'll tell Dr. Patel on Monday." The fact that she had a therapist to confess to, instead of making me her confessional, mattered more than I expected. I messed up too. When she started joining a book club and going to yoga classes, sometimes not answering my texts for hours, I felt a sharp, childish jealousy. Who was she laughing with? Did she like them more than me? What if she built a life that didn't need me? One night, after my 3rd just checking in text with no response, my thumb hovered over her contact, ready to call repeatedly, to demand her attention, to mirror what she'd taught me. I stopped. I remembered my own words, typed in that email months ago. 1 call, 1 message, then wait. So I wrote, "I hope you're having fun at yoga, book club, secret double life. Text when you're home. Love you." She replied later, "Just yoga. Phones in a basket at the front of the room. Look at us both practicing boundaries." Sometimes we had old-style arguments too. One Sunday, she said, "A good daughter visits her mother more than once a month." I put my fork down. "No," I said calmly. "A daughter visits her mother when she can, because she loves her. Guilt doesn't make me visit more. It makes me not want to come at all." She opened her mouth to snap back, then closed it. "You're right," she sighed. "Old scripts." We started calling them that. Old scripts, the lines we had learned from our own parents, from sitcoms, from fearful thinking. When one of us used one, the other would say, "Script," and we'd try again. "Script," I said once when she started a sentence with, "After everything I've done for you." She groaned. "I hate that you're right." "You raised a smart kid," I grinned. Therapy gave us language. Boundaries gave us structure. Time gave us perspective. Our conversations shifted from a constant undercurrent of fear and control to something more like 2 adults figuring out how to be in each other's lives. Sometimes we even talked about my dad without venom. "I think I'm still mad at him through you," she admitted one evening, over FaceTime, the glow of her kitchen light behind her. "Like if I keep you close enough, I'm proving to him that I'm the better parent." "You are the better parent," I said, but you don't have to prove it by sacrificing your sanity and my freedom." She laughed sadly. "Dr. Patel says I'm allowed to be more than Emily's mother. I've been thinking about who I am outside of that." "That sounds scary," I said. "It is," she replied, "but it also sounds exciting." She started taking a ceramics class, joined a walking group at the park. She sent me photos of lumpy bowls and selfies with new friends. For the first time, I saw her as a woman with a life, not a sentinel stationed at my bedroom door. And that made it easier to see myself not as her keeper, not as her emotional support human, but as her daughter. Just her daughter. No qualifiers. On my 30th birthday, yeah, time moved. Stories keep going after the big conversations. She handed me an envelope after dinner. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "I, Mom, formally retire from the position of full-time life manager of Emily. I am applying for the role of mom advisor, only when asked, fan, occasional worrier, working on it, and lifelong supporter. I promise to remember that Emily is an adult woman who owns her own life, decisions, failures, and victories. I promise to say, 'Do you want advice or just a listening ear?' before I launch into lectures. I promise to apologize when I cross boundaries, even when I don't mean to. Signed, Mom." My eyes blurred. I started laughing and crying at the same time. "This is so cheesy," I said. "It's incredibly cheesy," she agreed, "but I mean every word." "I accept your new job title," I told her, "on a trial basis, with quarterly performance reviews." We both laughed. Later that night, in bed, I thought about the little girl I'd been, constantly texting her location, constantly checking her mother's mood. I thought about the 15-year-old version of me who believed love meant never making your mom upset. I thought about the 28-year-old who finally said, "Stop treating me like I'm still 15, and walked out the door. If I could talk to that girl now, I'd tell her this: you are not a bad daughter for needing space. You are not selfish for setting limits. You are allowed to be an adult, even if your mother is scared." And if I could whisper something to my mom, back when she was 29 and newly single, gripping the baby monitor like a lifeline, I'd say, "You are not a bad mother for being afraid. You are not unlovable because someone left you. Your child is not your second chance at controlling the world." Our healing didn't turn into a perfect fairy tale. Sometimes she still texts more than I'd like. Sometimes I still flinch when she says, "Where are you?" out of habit. Sometimes old scripts slip in like background noise. But now we notice. We talk. We repair. We are both learning a new language. The language of boundaries, consent, respect, and unconditional love that doesn't demand constant access. This is not just a toxic mother story or a controlling mom horror tale. It's an emotional healing story time for anyone who has ever sat on a couch, phone in hand, wondering if they are a terrible child or if their parent is simply too scared to let go. It's a story about a mother who learned to loosen her grip. It's a story about an adult daughter who learned to take up space. It's a story about family drama that doesn't end in permanent estrangement, but in messy, imperfect reconciliation. When people ask me now, "How's your mom?" I smile and say, "She's learning. I am too." And when my phone buzzes at 9:05 p.m. with a single message, "Mom, just wanted to say I love you. No need to reply right away," I feel something warm in my chest. Not panic, not obligation, just love. And a quiet gratitude that, once upon a time, on a loud night in a cheap bar, I finally said the sentence that changed everything. Mom, stop treating me like I'm still 15.